Had a Green Nose by Max Lucado. Just like Punchinello, we all want to fit in, to be accepted by the crowd, but at times that may mean we either have to look or act like others or at risk being rejected. Punchinello's hard-earned lesson shows us how important it is to be who we are created to be and why that matters. So let this wonderful tale help you to remember two things: that you are made unique for a reason, and that there is only one who will always help you be you, wonderfully you. Lucia and Punchinello looked at the window of Eli's workshop. Like other Wemmicks, they were wooden people. But unlike the other Wemmicks, they weren't standing in line in the village below. "Look at them all," Punchinello exclaimed. "I don't understand," Lucia wondered. "Why would anyone want to paint his nose green?" "Because everyone else is," Eli responded, without looking from his workbench. Punchinello didn't understand. "What do you mean?" "Everyone wants to look like everyone else. Sometimes it's square hats, sometimes it's tall shoes. Why, last year the big thing was yellow ears. Now it's green noses. Everyone wants a green nose." "Does a green nose make them smarter?" Punchinello asked. "No." "Does a green nose make them stronger?" "No." Does it make them faster?" "No." "Then what does a green nose make them?" Eli looked up and smiled. Greener. But his smile left as he looked out the window at the long line of Wemmicks. "They think they'll be happy if they look like everyone else. But I made them different on a purpose. Freckles, long noses, bright eyes, dark eyes. These were my ideas. Now they all want to look the same." "Not me," said Lucia. "I'm happy just the way you made me." "Me too," agreed Punchinello. "I don't need a green nose to feel special." Then he paused and looked at the village. "But I'd love to see how a green nose looks up close. Want to go?" Eli smiled as the two stood to leave. "Just remember, I made you different on purpose," he told them. From street level, the line looked even longer, and the noses even greener. Lucia and Punchinello worked their way to the front of the crowd and watched as one Wemmick after another stepped into the nose-colouring store and came out painted. "It's the latest thing," barked a Wemmick on the sidewalk. "Don't be the only Wemmick with a plain nose." "Who is that?" said Punchinello. Lucy shrugged. "I don't know." "Why, that's Mr. Willy Wit," volunteered a Wemmick from behind him. Does he run the nose painting store?" said Punchinello. "More than that," the Wemmick explained. "Painted nose were his idea. So were square hats and tall shoes and yellow ears. New things are his things. He decided what is witted. Isn't he the best?" Lucia and Punchinello took a good look at this tall Wemmick with a deep voice, big smile, tall hat, and green bow tie that matched his great green nose. But both were thinking the same question. Lucia asked it. "Who made him the new thing picker?" The Wemmicks looked puzzled, like he had never been asked the question. "Well, I don't know. He always has." Then his eyes brightened. "Wait! Look! Here comes a new nose." "Ooh!" said the Wemmicks. "Ah!" admired some of the others. The just-painted Wemmick didn't stop to speak. He just kept his nose in the air and walked past. All green-nosed Wemmicks did this. After all, how could your nose not be seen if it wasn't in the air? Walking around High-Nosed, however, was risky. Wemmicks walked into walls, doors, and even each other. Lucia and Punchinello had to be very careful. One Wemmick took up the whole street. Step back, he announced it. It was the Maya. Make way, the Maya. Mare. Make way, every Wemmick. My wife is coming in for a touch-up. With one hand, he waved back the citizens. With the other hand, he guided her through the crowd. Horrible, just horrible, she cried, covering her nose with both hands. I tipped some paint when I bumped into a tree. Now the real me is showing. Horrible, just horrible. As the crowd passed, Lucia shook her head. Such a fuss over a green nose. Yeah, agreed Punchinello. You'll never catch me in nose-colouring store. Oh, Punch, I was hoping you'd go. Punchinello recognized the voice immediately. Twiggy. He turned and looked at a white-eyed, sweet-smiling Wemmick. His ears began to turn red. They always did when he saw her. He reached up and covered them. Why don't you paint your nose, Punch? I painted mine. Everyone else is painting theirs. Besides, you would look good in green. Twiggy reached up and touched the tip of his nose. Yours is so cute. With that, she turned and walked away. Bye-bye, she waved. Punchinello moved one hand from his ear to his nose. He turned and looked at his reflection in a store window. Lucia had to grab him to get his hand to get his attention. Come on, Punchinello, let's go. As he walked past the store, he noticed Willy Wit examining his nose in a handheld mirror. Later at home, he did the same. I never noticed before. My nose sure looks pale. The next morning, Punchinello walked down the street with his friends, Splint and Woody. Are you really thinking about it? Woody asked. Sorta, Punchinello asked. They say the paint stings your nose, Woody volunteered. And it stinks, Splint added. And the brush could get in your eyes, Woody countered. And it only comes off with sandpaper, Splint added. Shh. Punchinello put a finger to his lips and pointed at a large crowd of green-nosed Wemmicks standing in the square. Something's going on. The mayor was standing on a platform, his wife's nose freshly painted, and Willy Wit with it were on each side of him. Welcome, one and all, to the first meeting of the Nosy Wemmicks Club, he announced. Your glittering green sets you apart as the with it Wemmick. As if on cue, Wemmicks began stroking their nose. You're classy, you're keen, you're awesome, you're green. Proud of his poetry, the mayor smiled, and the Wemmicks applauded. We owe it all to Willy with it. He shouted over the noise, the pioneer of the painted snout. Everyone applauded even louder. People love me because of you, one shouted. I have more friends, cried another. With a green nose, I'm a better Wemmick, exclaimed a third. The mayor hung a medal around the neck of Willy with it. You have changed the faces of Wemmicksville. We salute your brilliance. Without you, would all look like the mayor paused, looking for the right word. Then he saw Punchinello and his friends pointing in the direction he declared with a scornful laugh. Them! Everyone else laughed too. Punchinello and his two friends lowered their heads and covered their noses. Let's hear from Willy with it, shouted the mayor. the Wemmick who discovered the cure for the common nose. As the townspeople shouted and applauded, Woody, Splint and Punchinello quickly turned and walked away. They didn't stop until they stood in front of the nose-colouring shop. Within a matter of minutes, all three were painted and walking down Wemmick's Lane. Hey, Punchinello, said Splint, pushing his nose upward. Am I doing it right? Punchinello didn't look. I can't see you, Splint. If I turn, my nose wouldn't be in the air. Whew! This is tough work, Woody added. Not only do you have to get painted, you have to walk weird too. Walk weird. Yeah, but but doesn't it feel great to be with it? Punchinello asked. It was for a few days. It did. For a few days it did. They hung out with other green-nosed and make weekly visits to the nose curist for a nose polish. They brought nose gloves for cold days and nose umbrellas for rainy ones. All three read Willy Willet's new book, Winner by a Nose. Most of all, they enjoyed looking down their noses at an unpainted Wemmick's. One day, when they were feeling especially smug, Splint said to Punchinello, I just can't imagine who wouldn't have a green nose. Punchinello agreed. Everyone has a green nose. It is so what? A voice interrupted. It was Lucia. Punchinello was embarrassed. I haven't seen you in a while, he said. You haven't seen anyone in a long time, she replied, except yourself. He started to speak, but he didn't. He was bothered by what she said, and he was even more bothered by what he saw. He saw it the next morning as three were walking into Wemmick's field. Standing on the other side of the road was a Wemmick with a red nose. He needs to get with it. They said to each other. But they saw another Wemmick also with a red nose. Then a third and a fourth. By the time they were in the village, they were surrounded by red-nosed Wemmicks. And those whose noses weren't red were in line to have them painted. Step right in, shouted Willy Willet from the steps of his store. Green noses are out, red noses are in. But we just got our noses painted green, they told him. No problem, he replied. Our red will cover the green. Step right in and get in style. The three friends looked at each other sadly. We thought we were in style, Woody moaned. What could they do but stand in line and have their noses painted red? For a few days they fitted in, until one morning they saw a blue-nosed Wemmick. Oh no, they said to each other, not again. So they changed colours, but it was a short time until blue noses are out and pink noses were in. Then pink was out and yellow was in, and then yellow was out and orange was in. Soon Punchinello and his buddies had so many layers of paint on their noses they couldn't remember what they really looked like. This has to be the final colour, they said the day they walked out with orange noses. But once again, they were wrong. I'm so tired of this, Woody moaned when he saw a purple-painted Wemmick. I wish my nose was common again. The three sat on a rock and hung their heads. Me too, agreed Punchinello. I should have listened to Eli. You think he would help us? Why don't you ask him? All three turned at the sound of a familiar voice. Lucia, they said. He asks about you every day, she told them. Is he mad? Punchinello wondered. Sad, not mad. Punchinello looked up towards Eli's house on the hill. He told me to tell you to come. Lucia spoke again. Could I take my friends? Of course. Would you like to go with me? Certainly. And soon the four began the long walk up to the hill to Eli's house. When they reached the top of the hill, Eli stepped out of the workshop and began walking towards them. He met them in the yard. One by one he examined their noses. Been trying to fit in, eh? Punchinello nodded. Did you success? Not really. Every time we got closer, someone changed the rules. That's the way it is. And my neck hurt from sticking my nose in the air, Woody added. You weren't built to walk that way. We just want to be ourselves again, Splint said. I'm glad to hear it. Can we? They asked. Of course you can, replied Eli. I'll always help you to be who I made you to be. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out some sandpaper. But it's going to take some time. So Punchinello and his friends followed their maker into the workshop, where he spent the rest of the day removing the paint. It hurt to be sanded, but it was worth it to be normal again.